Well, let's get started. If you stay still, you will die in the wilderness. You are no longer living in that little house with the windows locked, the doors barred, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. You know, I shouldn't be surprised, this just happens with everything. I was so happy to see that so many more people are starting to go down this path, to stop blaming everything else, to stop blaming the world and people around them, and actually look inside to try to change themselves for the best. In the year 2020, we have some counter-arguments, and I have already seen two hit pieces on why self-development is basically a toxic game. Well, improving yourself to be the best you for yourself and everyone around is one of the best things a human being can do for the world. Without it, it's quite unlikely that you will be able to do anything else. If, of course, you're not some kind of a saint that was just born this way and doesn't have to improve much anything. So today I want to put on my serious glasses and talk to you about why self-development is not only not toxic, but the best thing you can do for yourself right now. Well, of course I'm not really going to use these glasses because I couldn't see the camera. I can barely see it as it is. But what I am going to do, even without the glasses, is talk about the 3 most ridiculous things that I have seen in the videos, under the videos, on Reddit or anywhere else about why the self-development industry is toxic. Number 1. Anyone who wants your money for any kind of help with self-improvement, coaching, development, therapy, whatever, they don't really want to help you, they are only after your money. If they were actually interested in helping you, they wouldn't charge anything, of course. What an amazing argument and what an amazing reason not to do something, because it costs money. Well, apart from the obvious analogy with anything else in this world, this argument makes no sense on so many levels. So first of all, what would you expect it to look like? It would be a charity. Who can provide you with charity so that you can improve yourself? Someone who is doing it in their free time, with the best intentions possible. How is someone going to be able to take time and put it into your development for you for free when they have their own lives and their own families to take care about? You can literally use analogy with any product that is on the market right now to see that this is nonsense. Is, for example, Apple a scamming company? Well, some might say yes, but any phone company actually, Apple, Samsung, Lenovo, whatever, I don't even know who makes phones nowadays. Are they all scammers because they want money for the product? Well, someone might say, well, it's very different because it's a physical product and physical products are like real things, so I feel better when I give money for them. Okay, so a phone you can touch, so that means it's worth money. But knowledge, experience, help, that's worth nothing to you. This kind of mindset actually suggests that you are a prime example of someone who needs to rethink how they view the world and get some basic economical knowledge. And by the way, the phone is a terrible example of something material because most of the value of the phone is in something that is within its processes. The phone itself weighs like a couple dozen grams, and if you sold it for scrap, you would get nothing back from it. By the way, another great exercise you can do if you have this mindset is to think about all the amazing humankind's progresses and milestones that were achieved in the commercial sphere. The car, the light bulb, the telephone, the radio, the fridge, penicillin, antibiotics in general, other specialized drugs, TV, computers, smartphones, heavy machinery, industrialization in general. The truth is, while charity work is really important, it is not important for the real progress of humankind. It is important to help those who are in need now. It is not a moment of breaking milestones. It is a moment of helping those who are in a true need. Having said that, this is not even a fair criticism of self-development in general, because it's not all commercialized. There are many people who are giving these advices for free. It is an extremely ungrateful but important work. You are not going to get the recognition, you are not going to get the praise in media. It just doesn't appeal to people so much when you are actually teaching someone how to take care of themselves, instead of, I don't know, showering them in $100 banknotes. It just looks like more of a charity when in reality it's barely an act of solidarity and more of a flex of your financial ability. Guys, if you agree with what I'm saying, please consider dropping a like, support the channel, and consider subscribing as well if you like this kind of discussion. With that being said, let's get back to the point. Self-development is actually going to make you feel worse, because when you start to think like you are not living up to your own potential, you may become sad and disheartened, and over time, as you continuously fail to change anything, you might get depressed. I believe many of you will already see the problem with this argument. It is basically the Matrix argument. I need the glasses again. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I just take the blue pill? Well, Cypher, it's because not everyone wants to live in a dream world. I completely agree with the point. It is true. It is absolutely 100% true. If you discover that you are not living up to your potential and there is much that you need or should change about yourself to become better and to take things to the next step, and you continuously fail to get anywhere, you will feel bad about it. You might feel terrible about it, and yes, over time, you may even get depressed. Does that mean that it's not true? Does it even matter to anyone what is true and what isn't? I believe the most important point to remember is that most people, when first discovering self-development, understand all the implications rationally. But as they try to apply them, they find out that it's rather difficult to do. As they start to find that it's rather difficult to do, they are faced with emotional turmoil. It is unpleasant to do these things. It requires change. It requires discipline. It requires hard work. So, maybe it is easier to just not do it as much. Oh, but the problem here is that you already know what you are capable of. You already know where your potential lies. So at this point, there is no coming back. It's similar to philosophy in some points. When you have chosen to see the path, you can no longer make yourself blind to it. You have already taken the red pill. So now, whether you like it or not, you are outside and on the path. If you stay still, you will die in the wilderness. You are no longer living in that little house with the windows locked, the doors barred, where you lived in your own little world, where you didn't see the outside at all, and everything was nice and comfy. You have now gazed outside and it is haunting you, because it is calling you and you are refusing to answer the call. That will make you miserable, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Negative emotions can cause extreme trauma. I know, I've been there. And there is absolutely nothing wrong about going to see a therapist. Let's face it, most people do have at least some kind of mental problems, or they may just have issues, or have a really difficult to work with personality. Like, no one is surprised that everyone has some kind of physical health problems. So why is everyone so surprised that someone or most people actually have some mental problems as well? It's completely to be expected. So it's completely okay to go see a therapist, to go see a psychiatrist, to work on your own mind first. You have time, you have all the time in the world. Do what you want to do. You don't have to focus on, now I have to make $1 million in the next year. Now I have to get a six-pack immediately and I have to lose 100 pounds. That's what self-development means. No, not at all. Look at where you are. And there's where self-acceptance comes in. Look at where you are, analyze the situation, and decide to be a little bit better the next day. That is all. It's not so easy as it sounds, but it's also not as difficult as other people make it out to be. The negative emotions themselves are not always bad. They tell you that you have seen your goal and you are not following it. Talk to whoever you want, do whatever you need, but stay on the path. You cannot hide from it any longer. But most importantly, do not be Cypher. Don't take Matrix's deal. It's not going to go well for you. And finally, number 3, I already touched upon it a minute ago, and it's self-acceptance is better than self-improvement. It shows complete disregard to what both of these things are. First of all, self-improvement again is not I have to lose 100 pounds yesterday. I have to start making money today. I have to quit my job tomorrow to start a business. That is not what self-improvement is, and it is not what it should be understood as. Sure, you can make huge sweeping changes, that's okay if you are ready for them. Be careful, think, talk to someone. But what is most important is to realize that self-improvement and self-acceptance are not on the opposite sides of the spectrum. They need to work together, and self-acceptance comes first. Conversely, self-acceptance doesn't mean that you just pick an arbitrary moment in time, which happens to be now, and say, well, I am perfect the way I am. Right now, what I feel, what I think, what I am now is what I have always been, and that is what I always will be. First of all, it's factually untrue already, because even if you do your darndest, you are not going to be the same person as you are now in a year, and definitely not in 10 years. You are going to change, and the only difference is that with self-improvement you are actually going to take charge of how you are going to change, so you can change for the better. The change will happen regardless. You cannot stay the same. If you accept yourself as you are now, well, get ready to be accepting of yourself for the next week, because after that you will just be a completely new person. Sure, it may be just a very small difference at first, but over time it's going to grow larger and larger. You have to accept yourself for your whole self. How much you weigh right now, what you are thinking right now, your level of knowledge right now, what you are feeling right now is not who you are. You are the set of all the possibilities in the future. You can choose how you are going to profile yourself. You accepting yourself means that you love yourself enough to want the best possible outcome for you in the future. It definitely doesn't mean that you are going to stay the same, because as I said, that's impossible. And it also definitely doesn't mean that you are already perfect in everything. Nobody is perfect. But still, self-acceptance is extremely important, and it has to happen before you even attempt self-improvement. If you do not accept yourself for who you are right now and forgive yourself everything you have done in the past, you cannot work with yourself. If you hate your client, you are not going to give them solid advice, you are not going to root for them, and your cooperation is not going to yield good results. So you first need to understand yourself, love yourself, accept yourself, and from this position of understanding your own worth, you can expand in the future. For this video especially, guys, please leave a comment, leave a like, so that I know if you are interested in more of this kind of stuff, because I believe this is super important and it is going to define what the next years are going to look like for people who actually want to do something about their situations. I still can't remember where the stupid camera is. Whatever. And I will see you in 2 days, I guess? Yeah.